So I got a question for you. When Jesus preached the greatest sermon ever, which I would consider to be the Sermon on the Mount, why do you think, well, it's actually two questions. Why do you think, first of all, he went on top of the mountain? Matthew 5:1 says he saw the crowds and he went up on the mountain and his disciples came up and he sat down and taught them saying, I can tell you it's a little bit of trouble to climb a mountain. And I'm wondering, do you have any idea why Jesus might have climbed that mountain? And the second question is, why did he teach the greatest sermon ever to such a small group of people? I mean, if I were teaching the greatest sermon ever, I'd rent a stadium somewhere. I'd get the biggest crowd I could find. I'd do some advertising, and I'd get as big a group as I could get. Why did he preach this to a small group? Now, by the way, at the end of the sermon, we read that there was clearly a crowd had found him, and so he didn't stay small. But it begs the question, why did Jesus preach the most important sermon ever to a small crowd? Let me give you my answer to that, and I'd be curious to hear your answer. You can put those in the comments below if you're watching this on Facebook. As to the mountain, I would say maybe the mountain was kind of a metaphor for what he was teaching. In other words, over and over in this teaching, Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, but I say to you. And he is asking for a change of perspective. And I can tell you, climbing up on a mountain will change your perspective. And I think that may have been one reason why he climbed on the mountain. That may not mean anything at all. In fact, in Luke, we see that Jesus preached a very similar sermon. And in that case, he preached on a plain. But I think it might have to do with perspective, because up here on a mountain, you get a perspective that you didn't get down there. And as to the second question, why did he preach this to a small group? I just think there's something incredibly powerful about a small group, which leads me to my conclusion that I'd like to mention to you today, and that is, I would like to invite you to gather a small group together and go through the Sermon on the Mount. I prepared 13 lessons. They consist of about 20 questions each, ready to teach. I like to say, if you can read 20 questions, you can lead a small group. If you're not in a small group, you can just invite 2 or 3 of your friends to get together and discuss this. There's far more material than you'll need. If you're already in a group, you could just use these lessons in the group you have. If you're not in a group, you might spread the teaching around. In other words, one of you teaches one week and somebody else teaches the next week, and so on. Unless you discover that somebody really has a gift for teaching, then you might go that way. But I'd invite you to check out the lessons that I've provided. I think that you'll find them to be a perspective-changing, life-changing experience for you.